welcome to another episode of the Spiritual Investor Podcast. I'm about to burst because I have one of my favorite people. We've already done one go round on this because I was on her podcast, and of course, that was incredible. And I'm like, okay, well, you're coming over to this side of the fence. Coming over to the dark side. Um, this is Samantha Daily. She's a personal brand consultant, and I was going to introduce her as a wizard, but you guys can decide kind of at the end of this what you think she is. But Samantha, thank you for being here and sharing your energy and wisdom with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm smiling ear to ear from that intro. It's so funny. But I loved our conversation on my show. So if you guys haven't heard that one, I highly recommend listening because Elizabeth crushed and we just riffed so much on like the energetics of money and investing and all the things that she's so amazing at. So
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was good. Okay, and it's called Make Shift Happen, right? Your podcast?
yes.
Yes, love it. Okay, so I just have so many things, like so many different ways that I could sort of enter the building here because uh I see you as kind of the ultimate money conduit. And money conduit is something that the listeners here are very familiar with. It's sort of one of the concepts. It's kind of like, okay, I think of it as like we're opening ourselves to energy and we're sort of getting rid of the old self in a way to sort of make room so that some people call it authentic self, some people call it source, some people call you, whatever. The cleaner, almost transparent, more vulnerable, different things. You seem to be, to me, you are a master at that because, I've watched you, I've followed you, now I've gotten to know you better, who you are in the world and what you do in your business and the way that you vibe is very consistent and flowy. And I think a lot of people are looking for like, what's the secret sauce? Like if Samantha Daily was like a genie in a bottle, like how could we do that? So what would you
Mm.
think?
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, I love this conversation because it's really what we're talking about is authenticity and like kind of tapping into your most natural frequency, which most times when you're being authentic, when you're being genuine, when you're allowing your personality to shine and express itself in its truest form, you are going to be a match for more abundance, for opportunities, for people coming into your world, wanting to spend time with you, buy from you, tell you to connect with someone else that they know who might have an opportunity for you. Like you open yourself up to receive a lot of that, like magnetism, where good things can flow into your life.
Mhm.
But because we're usually so concerned about how we're going to look or wanting to, posture ourselves in the right way and approach situations very logically and not step on anyone's toes and not rock the boat and not offend anyone and not get any hate comments and not do any of that, we can end up moving through the world very much with a performative energy, right? Which a lot of times we don't know that we're doing it. And
Mhm.
we're not even necessarily thinking, oh, I'm being so inauthentic, which I think is the challenge, right? But
Yeah.
every single one of us probably knows, especially if you've done anything in the online space, whether you just have social media for yourself to post updates or you are building a business and a personal brand on social. Every person who has entered into that online sphere can probably relate to this sentiment of feeling like, if you were to only look at who I am online, you would be missing so many pieces of my personality, right? Like so many of my clients tell me, and I tell them, you're way cooler and funnier in person. And they tell
Mm-hmm.
me, like,
Yes.
we'll work together for a year. And I, like you're saying, like, I do feel that I've gotten a lot better and quite good at being this like authentic expression of who I naturally am. But at the same time, I could work with someone for a year virtually, and then they could come out to like the top tier mastermind retreat or something, and they'll be like, "Oh, you're so much weirder in person, and you're even funnier and goofier and whatever." And I'm like, I know. And this is the challenge that we all have is finding these fragmented pieces of our personality and those little nuances and bringing them to the forefront in the digital space. And I do think it's really challenging, but it gets better with time and with practice. And I think that's the biggest thing that holds people back is thinking, I don't know how to talk naturally on camera. I don't know how to translate my message. I don't know how to share the things that I'm learning with other people to help them as well. They don't know how to do that. And so they wait, hoping that they're going to get better, or they just hide behind photos and text on the screen, and they're afraid to really put themselves out there with video, with camera. But you only get really good on video and on camera by practicing. Like I've been doing this for years and years and years. And I'll go back to early videos of me sharing my gifts online, and I'm talking very high voice because the voice also is a reflection of your authenticity. And the deeper that your voice is, the more grounded it shows that you are. And it's
Mm.
not that everyone needs to have a deep voice, but a lot of times you can tell when someone's talking from their throat, when they're trying to talk up here, they're talking from their throat, they're not anchored in the truth of who they are. They're not anchored in the truth of what it is that they really actually want to say. And being authentic doesn't mean crying on camera. It doesn't mean you have to be vulnerable all the time and share the hard parts or the worst parts of your life. That's a version of vulnerability. It's a flavor of vulnerability. But there's also a version of vulnerability that is really just being grounded in the truth of what you believe and being willing to take a stance on something, being willing to be polarizing. Because as you know, I always say, like, we have to polarize to magnetize. The only reason that a magnet is magnetic is because it has those polar opposite ends. If it didn't have that, it wouldn't have that strong magnetic pull on the one side. But you don't get that without having the repelling kind of energy that's on the other side. And that's what we have to be willing to do as humans in the world, is be these polarizing versions of ourselves that are grounded in the truth of who we are, what we want, what we believe, and what we have to say. And it will repel some people. It will turn some people off. You will upset people, but you will also become so magically magnetic to the aligned version of miracles, opportunities, friendships,
Mhm.
rooms, money, all of those things.
Oh my gosh, amazing. So how would you tell someone to kind of know if they were showing up inauthentic?
Yeah, I think there's, like I said, there's a difference between feeling like, "Ooh, I'm being really inauthentic," and just feeling like I could probably be more myself. Right. And I would tend to think that most people fall in the latter category, which is not feeling like I'm being totally inauthentic or misaligned with who I am, but more so that they know they're in a performative state and that they could be a little bit more stripped back, a little bit more raw, a little bit more natural, a little bit more themselves, and let that personality shine through. And so I think the barometer test for that is exactly what we talked about, of like, if someone were to only know you, meet you, try to get to know you through the digital space, what would they be missing from who you are? There's so many
Mhm.
facets of your life, of how you show up in your relationships, of your personality, of your quirks, of your humor, of your silliness, of the way that you tell jokes, of the way that you interact when you're, talking with other people. There, a lot of that gets missed in the digital sphere, especially when we're just filming ourselves. If your
Yeah.
content isn't like with other people, a lot of that gets missed. And so that's where we have to be really creative as digital marketers. If you are someone who's building a brand or building a business in the online sphere, of like, okay, well, that's a sign for me that I could be more authentic, because there's a lot of pieces of my personality and my life that are missing from this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, one thing that I notice about you and your brand, and maybe to a certain degree, all the same thing sometimes, right, is that I don't feel like you are just telling me about you. I feel like you are actually telling me about you, but in addition to that, and probably stronger, is you're not speaking my language, you are speaking my vibe.
Mm,
And you and I mean, if you look at our Instagram accounts, you would be like, oh my God, these people can't be can't be more different. However, you and I are very aligned, as we found out as through the conversation. Um, you sort of like you reveal yourself in a way. I think on your podcast, you reveal yourself like in certain areas to a point where I love that because it's almost like it becomes a surprise, you know? But you have a flow where I'm never like, oh, that's not her, but I'm like, ooh, that's more of her kind of thing, which makes me want to know more about it. And I think there's an art to it, and I love watching you do that. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Mm. Well, I love that reflection, first of all. So interesting. Like when new pieces get revealed to you, you're not like, oh, well, she never said she was like that before, so she's being fake. You're just more like, ooh, like curiosity, right? Of like, this is a new layer of her that maybe I haven't heard about before or haven't seen. Like, it's kind of exciting. But I think when someone is really, again, anchored in the truth of who they are and comfortable with who they are and wanting to share and sharing from that place, it gets received like how it would be when you're getting to know someone when you're dating. And when
Mm,
they tell you more about themselves or they tell you more about like their life or their past, like there's all these new layers that are getting revealed throughout that process of like dating and getting to know someone. But it usually doesn't feel like, oh, like that's not who you said you were. It usually feels like, oh my gosh, wow, like I'm going into this vortex of like learning more about who this human is, like so many elements of them that I didn't know about before. And so understanding as well, if you're someone who's like hesitant to share, is that most people are going to, if you are naturally being authentic and you do feel like you're standing in the truth of who you are and what's real for you, most people are going to receive that with curiosity rather than judgment. Of course, there's going to be some people that always want to judge you no matter what you do. But for the most part, I think that as long as what you're sharing is anchored in truth for you and you're sharing it because you want to share it and you want to like elevate that level of expression, most people are going to be on the receiving end exactly like you are, being like, ooh, like I want to learn more. Right. And I think that belief that people aren't going to like this side of me or this side of me doesn't match the other side of me because maybe you can be very serious. Maybe you have a high level job or you're an expert in a certain field. But of course, you're a fucking human. So there's these
right,
other sides
right.
of you of like, okay, what's the version of you in motherhood, in with your friends on a girls' weekend. Like there's all these other fragmented pieces of your personality of how you show up in these different areas that most people don't get to see. And sometimes we can judge ourselves and be like, oh, well, that doesn't match the persona that I've been trying to build as this professional, as this expert. So I can't share those sides. When in reality, as long as it's anchored and grounded in truth and you're sharing it from your heart and actually wanting to do so, people love seeing the human behind the expert. They love seeing the human behind the professional, right? It
Mm-hmm.
feels it feels like you're being let in. It feels so amazing, right? Like when someone opens their heart to you, even in personal relationships, like we're talking about in dating, you could know someone for a couple of months. And when they open to you on a new level about something that they've gone through or they've been through or that they're experiencing, then you feel special that they want to share that side of themselves with you. You feel more
Yeah,
connected, you feel more close. And so,
yeah.
most people, I think, what they get wrong is assuming that they're going to be judged if any piece of what they share is a mismatch from the professional or the expert or whatever. When in reality, most people are going to receive that by going, wow, that's really amazing that she wanted to share that with me, with us as the audience. Like, this is very cool that we get to be let into this other side of her life and her world and her experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I would assume also when you said like someone um like they're thinking that they're going to be judged. Well, we can't actually think that we're going to be judged unless we're judging because it wouldn't exist within us. Like that energy, that psyche identity wouldn't exist within us. And so to me, it's like, I don't know what you think of this, but like if someone is thinking they want to be judged or am I going to be judged? That is the moment to figure out for I would think go inside and be like, where is this coming from? Why? I don't even know these people out here. And like, and besides, who cares? Like, you're walking down the street. Are you thinking the whole time that like everybody who walks by you is going to judge you? No, you're not. If you did that, oh my God, you would be crazy, right? So, but it's kind of crazy to think the same thing on social media. But, I think that it is one of those like times where people get really stopped by it. And I think to a certain degree, we're all judging machines, but how do we know that the judging is bad? And I think what you're saying is, what if you push the envelope and you go into that region that is more of the human? Because maybe you could even grab onto the perception that being more human is the way to be less judged.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, that's valid, right? Another thing
Yeah.
is that we know is true is that misery loves company, right?
Yes.
So like there is this experience where like I said, there's different versions and different flavors of authenticity. When you share something vulnerable, what you're likely going to receive is a lot of sympathy, empathy, support, a lot of cheerleaders in the chat. When you share a different flavor of authenticity, which is like, hey, I just made $1 million,
Yeah.
not as many people in the chat. Not
Yeah.
not as not as
Yeah.
many people
Yeah.
being like, wow, this
Yeah.
is amazing to see this like super authentic celebration from you. Because again, we're judging machines and we see what others have and we make it mean lack for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so there's that, right? Is like I think people are falsely anticipating that they're going to be judged by being vulnerable, when in reality, the most common experience of sharing vulnerability is receiving support back. Because everyone can relate to going through a hard time, to feeling insecure, to being in pain, to feeling lost, not knowing what the next step is. Like all those versions of vulnerability that you could share that kind of align with something being a little bit harder, like everyone in the world can relate to that. What's unrelatable is being truly, authentically, wildly happy, rich, and in love.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the thing actually that pisses people off or that starts to ruffle the feathers. And so
Mm.
if people are like, oh my gosh, I'm afraid to be vulnerable, I'm like, well, be vulnerable all you want because people are going to be wildly fucking supportive. Like the engagement goes crazy when you're sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, right? The thing that is actually going to test your edges and your next level is the side of vulnerability that involves you actually celebrating and standing in the truth of all of the amazing things that you have built and who you've become and how much you've changed and how much possibility and potential and abundance you have in your life.
I love this because it's vulnerability from the aspect of it's not about me. That's what you're talking about, right? You're talking about vulnerability from a place of one consciousness. Because if it's from one consciousness, then your vulnerability strikes my vulnerability. If it's not from one consciousness, your vulnerability seems like you've overshared or something like that. And so I think that is something that people can really look at is it always comes back to where is it coming from? And I think that we are getting so in tune with energy. Like we work with people because we're connected in some way with their frequency and we want to be in more of that, right? Like so people want to be basically they want to be you, but they want to be the version of you that's themselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so they have to get past like the things about you that aren't like them, right? Like they have to get past like the even your value system to a certain degree. Because it's actually more about their identity than it is yours. Because they're the one that's blocking your expertise because you are incredible with what you do with branding and you've built a seven-figure business. And so everybody wants that. But like, can they get beyond their own thought process of you, which is interesting, this whole conversation, because we call this resonance. And it's like, am I comfortable with this person enough where I can work with them? Which to a certain degree, I can see how that works out. But also, there's a lot of people who have information that maybe they don't look like us and act like us. And so it's like our own filtering system, I think sometimes is the biggest thing that's holding us back.
Yeah, it's so interesting because like I'll have every time I do a group program or a mastermind, I'll always have like a couple of women who are older than me wanting to come into the space. And eventually they
Yeah.
do, but there's always like a hesitation of like, am I going to be, the only person in this group
Yeah.
that's, in her 50s or whatever it
Yeah.
is? And am I too like washed up to do this? And
Yes.
is it gonna still work for me and whatever? But the reason why they're inquiring in the first place is because although we are separate in a lot of ways and we are different in a lot of ways. And, I might be like dancing on a yacht in Miami in a bikini and selling something, and they might never want to do that in their life. So there's like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of differences, but there's still that resonance that you're talking about of
Mm-hmm.
like, I reflect back to them a bolder side of themselves that they
Yes.
know lives inside, right? I
Mm-hmm.
reflect, even though they might not live their life in the same way as me or be in the same season of life as me. I'm not a mother yet. And so sometimes moms will come in and be like, my priorities are just going to be a little bit different because I have these young kids or whatever it is. And I think it's important to, have mentors in your life who understand the differences of seasons of life. And so I never treat my clients exactly the same and prescribe them, you all must do this or work this hard or have this many hours or this kind of structure. Like the prescription has to be reflective of the client's season in life and what have they just done? Are they coming off of a major season of burnout or are they like super fucking hungry? Do they have two young kids or are they like,
Mm-hmm.
wanting to move to Europe and do a solo thing and like be wherever? So it has to be directed towards the priorities of the client. But regardless of how different our seasons of life and whatever might be, there's still a resonance of like, she has something that is awakening something inside of me. Like there's a part of me that maybe has been dormant a little bit. And when I watch her stuff, it activates it for me. And that feels really exciting. It feels really good. It makes me feel motivated. It makes me feel alive. And so they want to get closer to that. Like you said, it's not like to be you, but it's like to be a more deeply expressed version of themselves that mirrors some of those aspects that I'm showing them.
Yes, I love the way that you put that together and sort of like phrase that because I do feel like, going back to what we started with, I do feel like you have really described, the money conduit, right? Like and I think that we're sort of all done with the conversation like, oh, let's just manifest this and be comfortable. And let's just go out here and, be on social media like 50 times, 50 times a month or whatever. Like it's like the routines and the patterns and all of that. Like it doesn't work anymore. Like people want the effortless path, and the only effortless path is the one that you're talking about, whereby they can just show up and be themselves and match money to it, right? And what would you say in terms of, because we've talked about a lot of concepts, talked about vulnerability, resonance, all of that. Like, is there any cross section between any of those things and the matching money thing that we say?
Mm. Well, I think, like we've been saying, the frequency of authenticity, of truth, of the expression of your personality is inherently magnetic. It makes you magnetic to the things that are more like you. But when you're being a performative version of yourself, trying to fit into a box or say the right thing, do the right thing, move in the right way based on what other people think is appropriate or good or correct or politically correct or whatever, when you're moving in that way, you're only going to attract things into your life that are a match for this sort of like propped up, not fake version of you because it's still you, but it's the performative version of
Hmm.
you. So you're attracting more things that are a match for the performance that you're putting on. And some people think like, oh, it must be so exhausting to, post all the time or be on camera or talk to your phone and whatever. You know what's more exhausting is trying to be perfect. It's more exhausting to put on
Ah,
the
good
put
point.
to put on the performance of a
Yeah.
lifetime every
Oh
fucking
my
day
God.
thinking that you have to
Yeah.
say the right thing and that you can't cuss and that you can't say what like that's more tiring actually because
Yes.
you might be posting less but you're overthinking a lot more. You might be
Mm,
your output is lower, so you think that's easier for me. It's not. It's harder because you're still in friction. You're still in frustration. You're still in performance of, I have to make this right. If I don't say the right thing, they won't buy. If I say this wrong, people will get upset. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. That's what's tiring. And when you do that, then you're only ever becoming magnetic to more things for that, postured version of yourself. When you strip all of that back and you're
mm-hmm,
just like, bah, like, fuck it. This is
mm-hmm,
me. This is me. Just be yourself. Just post on the fly. Just say what you want. Face to camera. Do the thing. Reps, repetition, practice over and over. Be who you are. Who cares? If people don't like it, they should leave because they're not going to be your client or your customer or whoever you need them to be anyway. When you finally say, fuck it, and
mm-hmm.
literally just be yourself, you will actually start attracting people, opportunities, money, experiences that are in alignment with your true self, not your postured performance self.
Oh my God. I'm so grateful that you're here and that you are saying all this and sharing all this. Thank you so much. Because you are so right. That was so mic drop what you said about the which one's more exhausting, right? Being perfect is exhausting. Come
And
on,
listen,
right?
listen, I know better than anyone else because I've been a perfectionist since probably the day I was born. Um, like I probably was in the womb engineering how I was going to come
Well,
out
you
nice,
look perfect,
nice
so
and
we would
nice and quick.
assume that it was.
If anyone knows perfectionism, it's me. So I totally get it. And that's why I'm saying from experience,
Hmm.
you only start to shed those layers when you practice more and more and more. You cannot wait to feel
Yeah.
the confidence. You cannot wait to feel like you know exactly what your message is. You cannot wait to feel like you have, the perfect caption or thing to say because it's going to get people to love your product or your program or whatever it is that you can't wait. You just have to do shit. You just have to be cringy. You just have to mess. You're going to look back hopefully in a couple of months and be like, oh, that was not good. Even though the time you
Hmm.
posted it, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm making progress. This is good. You should look back and be like, that was bad. Because if you're not feeling that way, then you're not growing and you're only going to grow from repetition and practice.
That's such a good point. And looking back and actually going, oh, wait, that wasn't so good, right? Because then you can reflect back on you have grown with that. Um, So let's talk a little bit about this thing you're talking about performative. So if someone has, because I know you're really like in the whole money vibe, you teach a lot about money and wealth and bringing that in. So um, for how would someone who I'll say has like a lot of conditioning and sort of a shitty relationship with money, how do they not be performative when they're talking about money?
Mm. I think the way to do that is, again, to be anchored in truth. So if you have a lot of conditioning around money and you're trying to talk about money in a way that's not authentic or aligned with your experience or expertise, then of course you're going to feel like an imposter because maybe that's what's happening is like you're trying to posture as this person that can teach people money mindset or something when you're still like, my relationship with money is low key fucked, but I'm pretending
Hmm.
because I've read these two money books that I can like
Right.
help people do like
Right.
that is never going to work. Right. So, but the truth of the matter is like we all have conditioning and it doesn't mean that we don't get to speak to our experiences and that your voice is not valuable. So really the difference is like, is what you're doing and what you're saying grounded in truth? And is that your truth? Because a really powerful way to bring people along on a journey as it relates to something that you have been working through or you're still working through is to do exactly that, is to make it feel like I'm going to give you some insight into my experiences. Here's where I've started. Here's where honestly I'm still struggling.
Uh,
But these are some major improvements that I've
yeah.
made. This is what I've learned. I read this book. I'm working with this teacher. I took a course or a program from this mentor. And it's really helped me see X, Y, and Z, the improvements. And these are my goals. And this is where I'm going. I mean, that's major vulnerability points because you're sharing the place that you've started at, the active learning that you're kind of moving through. And I think the most vulnerable part of that is when people share their goals, right?
Hmm.
There's a girl on social media who she does a lot of work for creators, but she started doing this series recently called like My Millionaire Year. And she's like, if you don't want to say it, then I will. I want to be really, really rich. And here's how I'm going to do it. And she welcomes you into this series called Her Millionaire Year, where instead of giving you creator tips like she normally does for how to create your content, she's actually showing you here's the money that I made this month. Here's the places that it came from. Here's where I'm falling short. I'm X% on track to hit my goal of $1 million in a year. I thought last month would be better, but these were the reasons why it didn't go to plan. And that is a really incredible way to like bring people into a conversation about money or a journey with money without feeling like you're out of alignment or out of integrity because it's still rooted in truth and you're being honest about where you're at. So you absolutely can have, the worst conditioning on the planet when it comes to money and still have powerful conversations about money that are valuable to other people. They just have to be rooted in truth.
Oh God, I love this because what you're doing, everything that you're saying here, by the way, and this is one of the things that I feel like, because you and I lined up, it's like we somehow lined up, we're in the same like sort of frequency in order to even, connect and have conversations like this, right? And so what it reminds me, everything that you're saying goes back to the principle of you can't get money, you have to invite money in, because that's what you're saying. Invite them into your journey in a way that, you mentioned earlier on in this conversation, it would be kind of like you're talking to a friend. You're talking, it's like kind of a dinner conversation kind of thing. Invite them in. And then if you can't do that, it seems like to me, like if you run into a wall and you're like, no, I can't do that, then that's where you get to look at yourself. That's actually the reflection back. Because if you can't do that, then there's something blocking, and that block is what they're feeling, which is why you can't get what you want. So it's like what you're saying is the practice. It's the practice of it and sort of like getting in the rhythm of it. But it's also like if you're not practicing it, you're not actually going to be able to get the reflections back on what scares the shit out of you. What part of what Samantha has said for you to do today scares the living hell out of you? Because that is your answer. And then go work with Samantha and figure out how to get past it. Because seriously, I don't think that people realize, and I say this about, investing as well, but a business is investing in yourself, right? And
Hmm.
I don't think that people realize how much it is costing to stay in this holy shit, I'm not going to do that phase. It's like our identities are costing us millions and millions of dollars. And we're looking outside in the circumstances and going, I don't have the audience. I don't have the time. I don't have the blah, blah, blah. And it's not
Hmm.
right. It's not true.
Hmm. Hmm. But you know what I've also learned
Yeah.
is you can do a lot of work with people when they're ready to break those blocks, but you can't make someone want a bigger life for themselves when they
No.
genuinely don't. And
Mm-mm.
so some people will go, I can't do that. I could never do that. And mm, yes, could you reprogram that belief and therefore change their experience of reality? 100%, but only if they want to reprogram that belief. If they
Agree.
want to continue to believe, I could never do that. I could never be that type of person. Like that life is just that's not even real. Like people are, they're lying about what is available to them, or they can do it because they're this type of person, they look this way, whatever. If they want to stay in that reality, you could teach them all the tools and all the skills to reprogram, and it won't work.
Yeah, I agree. I think it goes down to you don't get what you want, you get what you create.
Hmm.
Because a
And
lot of
how badly
people,
do you want it? Like, I know
yeah.
for myself, it's so interesting to see the discrepancies between the things that we say that we want and then actually
Yes.
how hard are we willing to work for that thing. And there's going to be different things in everyone's life where they're better or they're worse at that. Like they're so in alignment with what they say they want and what they're willing to do to get it. And then there's other areas where, like, you say you want this thing but also you're not really willing to do that much work for it. So like I've noticed in myself when it comes to business, money, success, relationships, like I know what I want in those areas. And when I say I will do literally whatever it takes to get there, I will do it. My health, I'm a healthy individual, but I want to be optimized. And I
Mm-hmm.
say that I want to be optimized in all these areas, but I still can see how I put the other things before the health in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of ways.
Yeah.
So that's an area in my life where I have the discrepancy of like, oh, I want that, I want that, I want that. You see it on the screen of life, you see it on social media, and you're like, yes, like I want to be like that in the gym. I want to be optimized in that way. I want my skin to be totally glowing and clear, and I want to whatever. I want to age gracefully and all these things. And then it's not the number one priority and you're not
Mm-hmm.
actually doing whatever it takes. So then you can't, like, I can't sit here and be upset of like, why is my health not optimized yet? I've been wearing this Aura ring for 2 years and like, whatever, whatever. It's like, there has to be also a
Mm-hmm.
level of like radical self honesty of what are the
Mm-hmm.
areas in your life where you say you want something over and over and over and over again, but you're still not really fully in alignment of like, how fucking bad do you want it? Because if you did, you'd be doing whatever it takes. And some areas are going to be great, and other areas there's going to be bigger gaps because we can't be perfect at everything.
Yes, yes, you're right. And if you really wanted it badly, you actually wouldn't have to tell me. I would already know.
Mm,
You know, like you would be the self-expression of it. Like you don't need to give me
yeah,
the
that's so
rundown
good.
play-by-play of your life, right? I would know. And ultimately, because when you choose something, you choose it every fucking moment. And that's what people don't realize. It's like they do when it comes to parenting. That's every moment, right? But for some reason, like you say, like how bad do you want it? Like, yeah, you got to choose it all the time, right? Like my own spiritual growth, which I mean, and I'm sure a lot of people here in the same boat, you included, like that's not just on the yoga mat, right? That is like an every moment coming back to, oh God, I create my own reality. Okay, Elizabeth, you're upset about this because this person said that. Well, I created that. How did I create that? Coming back, coming back. And yeah, it's
You
so
know
fun to be.
what? Sometimes that is like a sickness, isn't it? Because we become so aware. It's like we're too aware for our own good. I was just
Yeah,
laughing about this because speaking about the health thing, okay. So I
yeah.
just hired like an integrative functional medicine practitioner that I'm gonna work with for a year. Like I'll
Oh,
do
cool.
certain things like because I know I'm like that's my weak spot, right? So
Hmm.
how bad do you fucking want it? So like I hired a personal trainer for a year. I'm hiring this practitioner for a year to like take all the tests and do all the things and get the plan and optimize and be held accountable because I need more babysitting in that area.
Yeah.
I don't need a babysitter in business because it's already like naturally at the top of my priority list. Like I could work all day long. You don't have to tell me to work more. Like you need to tell me to actually like calm down and work less. But in this other area, I'm like, no, I definitely need babysitters. I need people to hold me accountable. And knowing that about yourself is again the radical honesty that's going to help you get what you want. But long story short, I started working with her and we had to do a couple of tests, you know, to get baseline on all these markers for my health. And I had to do a finger prick test where you like blot the blood on this thing. And I'm really, really bad with blood. And so I was
I
doing
love
that.
these little things about you.
I know, I know. I told her that too because she's worked with me before as a client of mine, and so she sees me as this like really like you know strong presence, like badass, like do what it takes, whatever. And I told her I was like, listen, I'm a bitch when it comes to like if something tastes
Yeah.
bad or like the blood or like any of this, like you're really gonna have to be down my throat. And she's like, I was not expecting that from you at all, but okay, okay, we love the layers, the new
Yes.
layers. So, anyways, I did the stupid blood test yesterday and I literally almost died. Of course, I'm being dramatic, but like full on hot flash. I had to rip all my clothes off. I was like hanging over the toilet, almost vomiting. All the blood drained from my face. I thought I was going to pass out. It took me like 45 minutes to recover. I had to take an ice cold shower. Like it was a whole thing just doing a stupid finger prick. But I told her, I was like, it's so funny because while it was happening, I was like, in my head, my like version of myself that is so, self-aware is like, why are you creating this? Like
Yes.
the version of myself in my head is like, do you like the attention that you get from being a victim like this? Like it was like so and then I was like, this is imaginary. You're making this up. You're not actually sweating. And then I really was sweating from every crevice of my body. I was like, no, actually I am. It's a full on like heat wave. But it's so funny. Like just the how aware we are of everything that we create can sometimes also be annoying at times.
Yeah, I know. And I think we're kind of all moving into that. But there's so much freedom on that on the other side of that annoyingness though, right? Because then once you're done with it, you're done with it. Like if you get rid of the dramatic blood identity, right? Then you're done with it. You never have to go through that again.
Yeah. I'm
She's
I'm
like, she's
looking
like, I'm not doing that. I'm holding on at least one more time.
no, you know what? I'm really looking forward to that identity shift because
Oh my God. Well, this has been absolutely mind-blowing as I knew that it would. Thank you, I mean, from the bottom of my heart for sharing yourself with us. Like you talk about authentic truth, like that's what you did. You showed up here in your authentic truth. I mean, we know you in a whole new way, which I told you that was my wish at the beginning. I was like, they're going to be so surprised by you because you're incredibly intelligent. You're so deep and connected. And it's like even just learning about this like blood thing and like there you are like working on your own sense of awareness like I don't know that I would know that about you if I saw you like on the yacht, right? And
right.
in your bikini. But I love knowing that you have both sides of that
Yeah.
because it just shows us how we all have all of those sides, but
Yeah,
are we willing to front up with it?
it's the permission slip, right? Of
Yeah, it
like,
is.
oh wow, like other people are as multifaceted as I am. Maybe
Yeah.
it's okay. Maybe it's safe for me to be this really colorful, multifaceted person that is so serious or is really sexy. And then one moment is really goofy and silly. Like,
Yeah.
yes, 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 you are. You are allowed.
Yes, it's like it's the same theory as love all parts of ourselves. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. And then, okay, so you guys are going to want to follow Samantha for sure and watch her journey. So how do we do that?
Yeah, you guys can follow me on Instagram. That's kind of my main platform. My handle is underscore Samantha Daily. And like we talked about, amazing episode over on my podcast with Elizabeth. If you want to listen to it, the show is called Make Shift Happen. You can find it anywhere you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify, even on YouTube if you like video podcast versions. So check us out, connect. If you loved this episode and you're kind of coming over to my little corner of the internet from here, I'd love if you could send me a DM so we can connect and just say, hey, I found you on Elizabeth's podcast. That's always really fun to kind of see where people are coming from. So,
Mhm.
yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been really fun.
Amazing. All right. I'll see you guys on the next episode.